I am the world's biggest super fan.
You're like a super fan.
Welcome to the Business Superfans Podcast. We will discuss how establishing business superfans from customers, employees, and business partners can elevate your success exponentially. Learn why these advocates are a key factor to achieving excellence in the world of commerce. We discuss the invaluable insights of business owners who have successfully implemented the strategies in the book to build their own team of devoted superfans. Gain insightful knowledge from the experts who create applications that help you create passionate superfans. This is the Business Superfans Podcast with your host, Freddie D.
Ready!
Joining us today is Jason Kramer, founder and CEO of Cultivize, a consulting firm specializing in lead nurturing and CRM implementation. With over 20 years of experience, Jason has worked with global and local brands to help bridge the gap between marketing and sales. He's here to share his insights on optimizing the sales process and how to identify poor-performing marketing campaigns. Jason, welcome to the Business Superfans Podcast, and you're with the company called Cultivize. So tell us a little bit about your story of how you came about creating this cool business.
Cultivize is a made-up word, of course, and stands for two things that you and I both know really well, Freddie, which is to cultivate relationships and seize opportunities. My background, which is a little bit unique in the world of CRM, is that I spent 20 years in marketing. I worked for marketing agencies as a graphic designer, global brands, small brands you have audiences never heard of. And what I realized being out of school just a few years, Freddie, was that there was an opportunity to help businesses that couldn't afford an agency, but also didn't want to go the freelance route. So I started my own agency. We were a small team. I ran that business for 16 years, built websites. We did a lot of great, cool things. But what it taught me was that there's a lot of moving parts to a business. At the tail end, before I sold that business, I started getting involved with email marketing, marketing automation, CRM. And what I realized was there were a lot of companies out there that were doing a lot of things to make the phone ring and to get people to fill out a form on a website or to come to a trade show booth. But what they were doing a really terrible job at, Freddie, is tracking all of that and then following up. And so therefore, they were spending all this money to hang that shiny object in front of somebody's eyes. But if they didn't snatch it and that person disappeared, that was it. Like they spent all that money for basically nothing. And so that's why I started Cultivize, to help businesses be able to not just find the right technology when it comes to CRM and other tools, specifically on the sales side, communication side, right? Sales enablement, but also what is the process, right? Helping you extract out of your own mind. What is our business process to find leads, educate them, and convert them and to follow up with them? And believe it or not, so many people don't have a process. And that's where it really all has to start.
Oh, absolutely. Process is everything. And you hit the key thing there is follow-up. Follow-up is where the money's at. As you said, people spend money on a trade show or an event and stuff like that, get the leads, and they just sit there. It's mind-boggling.
They're in a drawer, right? With the business
they're in a
cards.
drawer. I've closed more sales because of speed. And what I mean by that is I have a rule that if there's an inquiry made, you've got 15-minute window to reach out to that contact. And if you reach out to that contact, that prospective customer, within 15 minutes, you set a bar because you beat everybody else. Second of all, as you know, in sales, first guy in has the ability to set the bar because they will probably look at some other competitors, but you've got the chance to set the bar and you can set it up pretty high so that competitor 2 and competitor 3 have got a long way to go to meet that bar. The second thing is you never want to be number 2 because number 2 always gets squashed. You either want to be the first guy to respond or the last guy, because the last guy has a chance to beat the bar, and the middle guy always loses. It's systems to put them in place and making sure you follow up with the systematized process so that the inquiries don't get wasted.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
So let's continue that conversation about some of the things that you do and offer your customers today.
We talked before, right, about the process. Before we even get the process, we have to understand, is it a business that is ready to build a process, right? Young businesses are still figuring things out. They might be getting business from referrals. They may not be spending money on lead generation yet. So the volume may not be there to warrant the process. But I'm a big believer that you really don't want to have a business that's chaotic and that's growing really rapidly and then start building a process after the fact, because things are going to probably fall through the cracks. As you're building the business and you're putting your business plan together and all these things, if you're a young business, it's about what are we going to do when it comes to our sales efforts? How are we going to work that, right? How are we going to follow up with people? Are we going to use just a tactic of email? Are we going to call people? Are we going to use technology, right? Are we use social media? So all those things are really important. But for us, Freddie, to answer your question specifically, when a company comes to us, they're usually in two places. So place A is they don't have what I would define a defined system on paper. Their system's up in their head, right? Or it's up in the sales manager's head. And whether or not that system is then communicated to the rest of the team, there's a kind of gap there in the way that it's executed. We just brought on a company this summer who is actually using manila folders and writing things down on manila folders. And they just had stacks and stacks of manila folders on their desk. Even they're a multi-million-dollar business, they didn't have a system, right? That was their system, right? Which is archaic, to say the least. So that's one scenario. The other scenario is they have some technology. We work with a lot of manufacturers, a lot of B2B companies where they have an ERP system, they have a quoting tool, they have something that they're using that kind of runs their business, but it doesn't do everything, right? It's not a CRM, it's not a sales tool. And so we fill in the gaps. What is that system missing that we could complement and we could help make it more efficient? So that's part of our process, right? Is figuring those things out and then coming up with recommendations for the technology that we're going to use. We work with a handful of different platforms, but then we both know that, and there's a great article Harvard Business Review did years ago, which you may have seen, Freddie, where they said that over 70% of businesses will fail at trying to implement their own CRM. And the reason they fail is because it's overwhelming, right? You're using something you've never used before in terms of a piece of software. In the demo, it might look really easy, but once you get into a blank canvas and it's there, think of you take a painting class and you see this beautiful example when you signed up of all these things you can paint, but then you get there and they give you a white canvas with some paintbrushes and they're like, okay, go at it. You're like, where do I start? And if you have no direction, no understanding of how to create a foundation, how to put down base color and how to build your piece of artwork, it's no different than in the world of CRM. To help with that, we do all of the work for our clients. So once we find technology, we're the ones, the Cultivize team is there to implement that technology, to bring all your data in, to set up your sequences, your emails, connect your website, do all those technical things that need to get done. Then we show you how to use the system. We do training, we hold the hands of our clients. And that's really, I think, the big differentiator for us. And a long way of saying, what do? We help companies become more systemized, more productive, and to eliminate gaps in their business where they might be potentially losing revenue.
Oh, absolutely. You hit a couple key things. You remind me of a company I had worked with earlier this year that was in a commercial flooring business, and they've been in business for over 30 years. And they're exactly that manila folder type company. And they really don't know or didn't know what they were leaving on the table. They would bid a commercial flooring project, and that was it. They were waiting to hear back from the general contractor, no follow-up strategy. And if they didn't hear anything, I guess we lost it. And we'll just bid another one. They'd land a few. And so they were in business in spite of themselves. We implemented a CRM into their system and did some tweaks and some adjustments to some processes. I increased their potential bidding pipeline to over $1.1 million in less than 60 days because of the stuff that was just falling through the cracks, tracking any of it. So
Yeah.
what you say is paramount for a small to mid-sized business is not only the systems help them improve the overall operations, but they're going to find things that they've missed or overlooked or didn't get followed up on, and they squandered opportunities.
Absolutely. And another big piece of that too, and I don't know if you did it for this client or not, but so this pool client we had come on board recently, they spend 6 figures a year on marketing. And so they didn't really understand what marketing was actually driving revenue and driving qualified leads. And so the common issue is anyway, a marketing agency will say, yeah, Facebook, LinkedIn, AdWords, whatever it is generating this many leads because these are how many people are filling out the website form. And this we know. What the agency doesn't know is what happens to those people after they fill out the form.
Correct.
And if you don't have a CRM in place that's tracking that activity, you're going to be really lopsided and potentially wasting a lot of marketing dollars on things that aren't actually working. And that was the case here, specifically with their Facebook campaign. It was generating a high volume of leads, hundreds every month, but something like 80% of them were just garbage. They were bad phone numbers. They weren't returning anybody's phone call when a salesperson called. And until they had that data, they weren't able to go back to the agency to say, hey, agency, something's wrong here. Yes, you're generating a lot of leads from us, but they're really poor quality leads. And as it turns out, the agency had demographic data not set up correctly. So they were targeting the wrong types of people on Facebook. They were doing other things inadvertently, just by accident, no really fault of anybody's, but they didn't realize that they were bringing a high volume of poor qualified leads into the client's account. And that's something a CRM can help manage and report on if you have that feature enabled.
Oh, it's paramount to track what your marketing is doing and what the conversion is. And what I mean by conversion is not just the inquiry, but actually turning into a customer, bona fide revenue to the business. You've got to track that stuff because otherwise you're squandering money without even knowing it. You think you're doing something like you just said. Look, they're getting leads. Wow, we're getting leads. We're getting 200, 300 leads this month. But if 95% of them are garbage, just like he's just said, Jason, then it's a waste of money.
Absolutely.
So you can reroute the money that you're wasting and putting into something else and get a better return on that investment than getting a whole bunch of leads. Because I'd rather have 5 good leads than 500 bad leads.
Yeah. And I think it's also too, because I know you have a lot of entrepreneurs and younger businesses that are starting out, which is great. We're all there. I was there. Do you think about networking, right? I spent more than 10 years, 15 years, probably at least, doing in-person networking, the BNIs of the world and other groups and the tips and all those things. You spend thousands of dollars and you put all these hours to go to breakfast and you meet people, you have coffee and you build strategic partnerships and yeah, you get leads and you're like, this is great. Freddie D's awesome. He's giving me 20 leads every time I see him. But if you're not tracking that and knowing, okay, are those leads actually converting to revenue and how much revenue am I generating?
Doesn't matter.
John might just be a nice guy. He might be just giving me names because he wants to give me names, not good quality, or he doesn't know me. So I think what's important to note here is it's not just marketing dollars. It's everything you're doing it's cold calling. How many leads are you generating from cold calling to know if your cold calling strategy is working or not, right? So it's every aspect of lead gen.
Oh, yeah. Years ago, when I was selling manufacturing software, I was a district manager and we were on the innovation side, we would do lunch and learns before lunch and learns became a thing.
Yeah.
I was doing them a long time ago. And so we would invite engineering VPs of manufacturing, VPs of engineering. We were in shared office space. So I'd hired a woman to contact all the guys to come for the lunch and learn. We would come in and we would talk about how the technology is transforming the engineering and manufacturing space via computer-aided manufacturing CAD/CAM. We weren't selling. We were just talking and demonstrating our product, showing the benefits and how it can be cost savings and minimize metal scrap and all that stuff. But what would happen is these guys would invite us to their companies. They would say, come on in, take a look at and let us know how this could help our business. That's all I was after, is
Mhm.
getting them to invite me into their shop. It's letting a fox in the hen house. The bottom line is we didn't get 300 people. We got 10 people showed up. The one event I remember years ago, there was one guy, it was downtown Chicago, and we were out in the burbs. It was like, should we cancel this or not? There's just
Yeah.
one guy. I said, you know what? Let's go. And we had to carry the computer stuff. It wasn't laptops back then. It
right.
was big computer stuff. Let's go. Worst case, it's a practice run for us. And we went, and it turned out it was the VP of manufacturing company. He liked what he saw, invited us in. Next thing we know, he bought 2 seats, $120,000 sale. One guy in the meeting,
Yeah.
but he's qualified.
He's qualified. That's all that matters.
It all matters. Our marketing investment was some letters inviting these guys to a luncheon. So exactly what you said, it's very important to be able to track all that stuff and get rid of the noise.
Absolutely.
So Jason, share us a story of one of the clients that you stepped in and what took place and how did you transform them into your super fans that are out there telling all their friends about the great services that you guys provide at Cultivize?
There's a lot of stories I could think of. On the Cultivize website, a fun thing I did a few years back is testimonials are good. Admittedly, I think that written testimonials are okay, but I was always after how do I make that more personable, make it more human? So I hired one of my clients at the time who does video production. I said, I can interview my clients, but they may not be honest with me. They may not tell me what I want to hear. I got this great program where I can interview them remotely. I got the software. And so we interviewed a bunch of clients, which was really cool because like, I didn't even know what the questions were that he was asking them. I didn't know what the final product was going to be. And it turned out great. So to answer that question, Freddie, there was one on there, particularly actually 2 of them, like I briefly mentioned. So one was a catering company, but they also had a retail food service business. And they had software out the wazoo. They had a software for everything you could imagine. They had several different departments. Every department had their own software and nothing spoke to each other. Nothing was connected. And so retail was not connected to catering. Catering wasn't connected to events. And it drove the head of marketing absolutely bonkers, as you can imagine. And us coming in there and having a central platform that we could segment all their data and have their data in there from one central location was a huge pivotal point to make their outbound marketing that much more effective. What really helped them, many things helped them, but what was a pivotal thing I remember from that testimonial at the aftermath, if you will, of COVID. So we're doing a lot of lunch and learn virtual events where they would send product out to companies and to people and then get everybody together on a Zoom call. So they would all sample the product together and for these more corporate businesses they were trying to do work with. And because they had the data from all this effort, they were able to have that be an extremely successful campaign. The attendance, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but the attendance for these Zoom meetings and the results of them were more than they would ever have imagined. And it was only possible because they had all this data in one place that they could do that from. And it filtered down to the rest of the team. It got the rest of the team excited, wanting to use the CRM, wanting to contribute data, wanting to make sure that data was up to date. Another one that quickly comes to mind, we do a lot of work with agencies. We love working with agencies, Freddie, because agencies get people to knock on the door, like we were talking about before, to generate that lead. It's Cultivize's job to get people in the door, sit them on the couch, get to know them, build a relationship, and then say, hey, salesperson, this is what Jason has going on. This is what Jason is interested in. You should go talk to Jason, right? And so one of the agencies we work with, a great firm out of Seattle, was only working with maybe out of all their clients, they had 2 or 3 clients using a CRM, but at a very entry level. And we worked with them for years and we still work with them. In fact, they brought on, I think in 1 year, they brought on like a dozen new clients onto the CRM because they had us as a resource, right? Because they had our expertise in their back pocket. They were now able to then take that conversation from marketing strategy to marketing implementation to actually cross it over into the sales enablement piece, which they were never able to do before. They were never able to really work with the sales team. All they were able to do is work with the CFO or the CEO, right? And saying, what are your sales goals? What are your revenues? And this is what we can do from a strategy perspective. But here now they had the data of the CRM. And I remember Sue was the owner of that agency, actually co-founder, over and over saying, you really just changed the way we could actually help our clients because you're now an asset and a value add to what we can do to help those clients actually excel further than we could before you. And so those are two things that kind of come to mind when you ask that question.
Yeah. So those two
Yeah.
companies are your super fans that are basically your advocates telling other people about the great services that your company provides.
Yeah. And listen, at the end of the day, I'm all about education. So everybody I talk to, even if it's on the consulting side, you said before about, which I loved about being the first to the table. When I get to that first conversation and someone's talking about CRM, I'm like, listen, there's no doubt you're going to talk to other companies, you're going to do research, you're going to see other demos, but these are the things you should be asking that other company. And if you're not asking them, then that's potentially a pitfall because you might miss out on something. And what kind of service do they offer in terms of their support? Is it just over text? Is it over email? Is it chat? Is it the support overseas? Are they going to talk strategy with you or just ask the technical questions, right? Because there's a huge difference. And we talk about pricing, we talk about all these different things. And every time, Freddie, I will tell you, the action's always the same. Oh, I would have never thought of that. I didn't think of that. Or I do catch them, like you say, in the third or last position. But oh, what did this other company say about XYZ? And it's usually crickets because it never came up in conversation or they didn't know to ask. And so I believe that it definitely does help us to make our clients to be informed as possible and not just to look at that shiny object, right? Which is the potential CRM that they might want to buy, but to dig deeper and say, okay, is this the right decision for us as a company? Like you say before, it's so easy to spend money these days, whether it be on marketing or anything else. And software is no different.
When I was selling manufacturing software,
Yeah.
I would start off really dealing with management, executive management, or a lot of times the owner of a tool and die shop. I would basically say, look, there's about 4 or 5 of us in the same market space. They all do the job. Okay, that's reality number 1. So number 2 is I'd say, okay, let's talk about where you want to be in 3 years, in 5 years. What's your strategy? What's your business challenges? So I got myself out of the conversation of the software because I look at it as it's just a tool. But if you can change the conversation to a business strategy, what are the pain points? Okay, in the manufacturing, scrapping metal because the tool path gouged the metal. Now you can't use it. That's a $20,000 piece of metal that you just scrapped. What did that do to your profit margin? Who's your competitors? What are the challenges that you're experiencing against them? So we would talk about business growth and strategies. Then once I understood that, I went back and says, here's how our platform is going to help you achieve these things. I had all their bullet points. I had their pain points. And so I was able to boom, bam, boom, bam, bing, hit all those points. I know the competition wasn't doing that. They were too busy saying, my stuff turns right. It's blue. It's green.
Yeah.
They were into the
Features and
features.
benefits.
They were into the features and benefits. And I'm like, where do you want to go as a business? That changed the whole conversation. And I never lost because of that strategy. It just changed the game.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
So, and that's the fun part because then you're into a whole different conversation.
Not only that, but you're also going to get caught in that never ending circle that just keeps spinning with focusing on those features and benefits. I just actually, before we got on the call, was talking to a new prospective client that we just did an audit for to assess their current CRM and provide some strategy. And on that follow-up call, they were talking about, oh yeah, we want to add like this custom object field for this and do this. And what about tags? Should we use a tag? Should we do that? And I said to them, I was like, listen, that's all like secondary. We have to have a strategy first, like a business strategy. Otherwise, you're going to keep on creating all these customizations and configurations that will have really no use. And then next thing you know, everything's a big hot mess. I had to dial it back for them and say, let's spend a few hours building that strategy first, and then we could figure out how we're going to apply the tools and the features.
Yeah, because those are two different things.
Yeah, exactly.
I know the answer, but I'm going to ask you to say the answer.
Sure.
How important is the data that you put into the CRM?
If you want crappy data out, then You got to put good data in. Data obviously is king, right? What I think goes beyond that is the center of truth. So what I often see sometimes, Freddie, in larger organizations that maybe have multiple systems is that they have their data living in multiple places. They have their data living in a quoting tool and a project management tool and an accounting tool in QuickBooks and wherever. And so what happens is if you need to update a record, oh, Jason's title changed, his phone number changed, his email address changed. Where do you do that? Do you do it in every single piece of software? Probably not. You're probably doing it in the software that you, as your role, if you're the bookkeeper, you're probably doing it in the accounting software and nowhere else. So you need to have what we call like a center of truth, which sometimes could be an external sort of database we build for clients that manages all that data and connects it all. Because I think that's where data can get messy very quickly is if you have different teams using different systems. The other big thing I think that's a huge misconception, there's so many companies out there selling data. I won't mention any names, but no data you buy is 100% bulletproof and is perfect. Right. We see time and time again, companies assuming, oh yeah, I got this list from this trade show or this manufacturer gave me a list of their vendors or whoever. Regardless of where you get it, the one thing I would say strongly to anybody listening, even if you're using a product like MailChimp, it doesn't matter. Before you send out an email to a list, definitely run that through an independent, what we call an email hygiene tool, and check the quality of that list, especially in the smaller businesses. If you start sending out emails to bad lists, you're potentially going to get blacklisted. Your domain credibility can go way down. Sometimes it's going to be irreversible. You can get blacklisted on Gmail. There's all these really bad things that can happen that you may not even realize are happening until it's too late. That would be something I would definitely urge because that's all part of this, right? We talked about nurturing and a lot of nurturing is done via email. And so that would be one thing I would just leave with is the importance of having good quality data, good quality email addresses.
And the other thing too, I think that to continue on that is having conversations logged in one place for a individual within an organization. So if you're talking to Mary Sue at some company, all the correspondence should be all the emails, all the text messages, all the phone calls, all the notes should be there because if you're not there and some other customer support person needs to step in and they have no idea what's been going on, that's disastrous because Mary Sue's going to go, what's going on with this company? It's just a major negative impression to that customer.
100%. Couldn't agree more. Yeah. And a lot of it can be automated. Like, again, like you don't have to copy and paste every email you send. It could be linked right into the CRM to their profile, text message being linked in, voicemails, audio messages.
In today's world, you get all that stuff.
Yeah. You don't have to do anything, right? With the calendar, the appointments you had are all there. So yeah, now's the time to really use the technology. Remember tools like Goldmine and other original CRMs, they were a lot more clunky, a lot more manual. Now, like AI, even when note taking at meetings, like the notes are being taken for you, next steps are being written for you. It's pretty incredible of what's available if you know how to use it.
Yeah, and that's glad you brought up AI because that was something I was going to bring up. And that's a game changer if you implement it properly. I was in a networking group and this woman in our group was talking about that she was chatting with somebody and was getting answers and everything else. Then about 10 minutes into a chat conversation, she realized that she was talking to a robot. It was as if it was a human being, but she got her stuff. And then she was actually connected to a live person once it got to a certain point. But that's a huge game changer in being able to engage with prospective customers, existing customers, providing excellent customer support, leveraging technology the proper way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's, to me, that's how you start creating super fans is taking care of one is the team, edifying the team that you've got working for you. But more importantly, that team is now engaging with the customers, your suppliers, your distributors. So you're creating a total experience where all the stakeholders are involved in what's going on in your organization, both customers, suppliers, distributors, employees, management, So now it's a holistic approach. And those businesses that implement that whole aspect, and just like you said, implement the tools properly that they need, can only go one way, skyrocket, because they got everybody behind them.
Absolutely. So it's all about adoption, about everybody having also accountability. And that's one of the main factors of why these systems fail, is because there is no accountability in an organization. So if you have the recognition, I always say there's a few things, right? You have to have somebody there that's going to be the champion, that's going to take ownership of saying, we're going to do this. We recognize there's a problem, and we're going to stand behind it and make sure it gets done. You have them also doing the part, right? So it's not just saying, hey, sales team, go do this. They're doing it themselves. They're in the trenches. They're using the software. They're putting in data, right? They're doing what they want their team to do.
Yeah, I'm going to expand upon it. It's got to be a collective approach.
Yes.
Because customer service is one end, delivery, if it's a service or a product, has got to be part of the conversation. Sales has got to be part of the conversation. Marketing has got to be conversation. But I think one of the biggest things is empowerment. You have to empower your team to be able to make decisions and be able to go ahead and take the initiative to do stuff versus telling them that they've got to do stuff. Whole different ballgame. Because they got ownership in it if they are empowered.
And if they realize also that it's going to be a helpful tool, it's not something that, I think, a big misconception when it comes to the world of sales tools, sales CRM, whatever it might be, it's, oh, this is going to be more work for me. I'm having to do double data entry. And so if things are designed properly, that concern should be out the window pretty quickly for a company.
I used to have, back decades ago, I created templates. And when I would go do a presentation to, let's say, a manufacturing company, and we would get all the people into the presentation, so it'd be the guys from the shop floor, the management, there'd be the owner of the company, et cetera. I made sure that I got everybody's name. Then when we got done with the presentation, I would go back to the office. I would send them all a thank you letter. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to look at our product and blah, 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 et cetera. Jason, you're the guy on the shop floor running the milling machine. A couple days later, you get a letter that I was sending letters back then, and you'd open it up and you go, wow, you felt important, because nobody recognizes you. You're on the shop floor. And all of a sudden, everybody got a letter. So everybody felt appreciated. And we would win more sales because of the fact that it set the mindset that at post-sale, we would provide the best support. To wrap that part of it up is, it's important to have systems in place, like you said, because I had systems in place decades ago. They weren't as automated, but they still were automated.
Of course, the point piece, I think I would say, is they were repetitive. That's the key. Yeah.
Do you have another story that you'd like to share about one of your successes or what makes you guys rock stars?
I would say what our differentiator is the fact that the world we live in, Freddie, isn't a one and done, meaning we're not designing a brochure or designing a logo and saying, hey, it's done. A CRM is a living and breathing thing. And you need a team that's going to not just do all the things we spoke about, help you with strategy, help you figure out how to integrate to your current processes and technology you're using, to build it for you, to show you how to use it. But you also need a team that's going to stay with you day after day, week after week, month after month, indefinitely, to make sure that the system is doing what it's set out to do. Are the email campaigns you're sending getting the engagement, getting the results you're looking for? Is the website forms bringing in the type of data that you're hoping that you could actually use and segment? Are they working properly? Are those advertising campaigns that you set up still tracking properly? Is anybody monitoring that? How is that going to integrate to the CRM, right? A lot of times these things are thought of as an afterthought and not before. And so the biggest differentiator, I would say, beyond everything that we spoke about, Freddie, today, is that we are here as a partner. I don't think of us as a vendor to our clients. I truly think as us as an extension of their team, and we become family almost to them, right? And we're on that first name basis. We're there a phone call away, a Zoom call, an email away whenever there's a question. And there's that comfort level to say, we need to run this by Jason and his team before we actually go forward with this, to make sure that we're not missing anything. And that's what we try to embody in terms of the relationship we have, is that just run something by us. Just let us give us our input on it. Not to say that we're the experts in everything, but if there's any room for a potential chance that the CRM can have an impact on something you're thinking about, it should definitely be considered to talk with us. And that's what's been, I think, a huge differentiator. And I know that, Freddie, because years ago when I started this company, about 6 years ago now, we didn't really stay on board as much as we do today. We were like, okay, if you need support, you're here. We're here for you. Here's our number. But we weren't proactively pushing to want to have these conversations. Even clients today that we've had for years, where we speak at very minimum once a month, how's everything going? I know that we spoke about this a few months ago. Just want to see everything is working out the way you expected. I'll go into the account myself, even if I'm not asked to, just make sure everything is working as it should be. If I see anything, I'll let them know. So I'm proactively trying to make sure that everything is good on their end, because I don't want to be on the flip side of that, which in software, you don't want to be on the receiving end, hey, there's a problem, and you're finding out it from a customer. You want to find out about the problem first and inform the customer about it, right? Because that shows you're being proactive.
That formula you just laid out is how you create super fans out of customers. Because as I look at all the testimonials on your website, those are all super fans that actually took the time to give you a testimonial, is by being proactive and engaging with them versus being reactive. Because reactive, you're already in trouble.
Exactly. Nobody wants to be reactive.
If you are in that position, I worked with an interpreting and translation company, and I grew them a little over $1 million in a year. The answer, again, was speed. Acknowledge the issue. First off, understand where they're coming from and how fast can you fix it. And people will, because things happen. It's life. But the fact that you're on top of it, you acknowledge it, and then you go out of your way to get it resolved, those are the secrets to creating super fans when things make a left-hand turn.
Yeah. And you become also, I think, that resource. The one thing I'll say for these younger businesses that are listening today, I've helped many clients with things that I know nothing about because I know other people, right? Oh, Jason, our website's down, or this is problems happening, that problem's happening, or I can't get in touch with. Now, they're not asking. They're more, in some cases, just venting. But I'll be like, hey, Freddie, I know an amazing, for example, we started working with a company that does apparel, like t-shirt, embroidery, and all that great stuff, and promotional products. I was like, how was your weekend, Mike? He's like, it was good. I spent hours and hours on my Shopify site trying to upload things, and I really don't know what I'm doing. I said, listen, I don't know if you want any help, but I know an amazing person that's like awesome at Shopify. I can make an introduction. Maybe they can help out. And had nothing to do with what I do. I was just trying to help out a new client. And within 3 days, he spoke to my contact. He emailed me and actually made a point to call me and say, thanks for introducing me to Beverly. She was great. I don't need her right this second. I'm definitely going to work with her because she knew exactly what she's doing, and it's going to be a great asset for me.
And there's a super fan.
Yeah, that's all it is, right? It's
that's how you create a super fan. Costs you nothing.
Right. Yeah.
Little goodwill.
Exactly. Yeah.
Super fans are your biggest brand advocates because they're going to tell everybody. They're going to write reviews. And today, reviews is the new word of mouth.
That's right.
Jason, as we wrap up here, tell us how people can find you and what kind of offer do you have for our audience?
Sure. First of all, Freddie, this was a great conversation. I really want to thank you for having me on today and to have what I thought was really good, topical, important things that a lot of businesses really need to be thinking about if they're not already thinking about. So I'm all over social media. You can find me, Jason Kramer, and Cultivize. But the easiest thing to do, Freddie, would be go to afterthelead.com, just like it sounds, afterthelead.com. On there's 3 things that they can get, Freddie. So one thing is, I talked before about education is so paramount. You could sign up for our newsletter, just an email address. We don't send out nonsense and garbage. It's only really good content about resources when it comes to email marketing, about CRM, sales enablement, lead nurturing, all the things we spoke about, and much more. There's also a playbook that I wrote, Freddie, which is a 13-page guide on how to actually build a lead nurturing campaign, almost regardless of the CRM system you have. And so it gives you all the step-by-step with examples. It's a really great roadmap for anybody that's not doing lead nurturing. You can download that for free. And the last thing is, you mentioned before about all these lunch and learns, which I thought was great. And you're like, I'm not selling. I'm just here to teach and to educate. For all your listeners, I'd offer to do a 1-hour call with any of your listeners that have any questions about anything we spoke about today. It's not a sales call. It's just me being friendly to help out. And so you could book that meeting after thelead.com as well.
Jason, great information for our audience and the importance of really implementing a good CRM and multitude of other systems collectively into one hub is paramount for today's success. And thank you again for being a guest on the show. And we look forward to having you as a guest down the road.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Transform your business with the Business Accelerator Collective. Hi, I'm Freddie D, host of the Business Superfans Podcast and author of Creating Business Superfans. Are you ready to unlock the power of total experience, TX, and turn your team, customers, and partners into superfans who fuel your growth? Join the Business Accelerator Collective, a thriving community designed to help you scale your business with proven strategies and actionable tools. Inside, you'll gain powerful TX-driven strategies to build loyalty and drive sustainable success. Access to exclusive courses, resources, and playbooks tailored for business growth. Live mentoring sessions with me to tackle challenges and uncover new opportunities. Upgrade to the Accelerated Mentoring membership for personalized strategy sessions, private collaboration chats, and exposure as a sponsor on the Business Superfans podcast. Your business deserves more than growth. It deserves superfans. Visit businessacceleratorcollective.com today and start reshaping your business for lasting success. Let's make your vision a reality together.
We hope you took away some useful knowledge from today's episode of the Business Superfans Podcast. The path to success relies on taking action. So go over to businesssuperfans.com and get your hands on the book if you haven't already. Join the Accelerator community and take that first step in generating a team of passionate supporters for your business. Join us on the next episode as we continue guiding you on your journey to achieve flourishing success in business.